What's up, everybody? This is Lyle with No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. And in a lot of videos, I'll refer back to my TNT training with my trainer at Prime and just basically talk about how good of a trainer he was. And a lot of people are asking, why did I think he was a good trainer or what made him a good trainer? So I kind of wanted to get into that a little bit. Now, first of all, he was my second trainer. My first trainer, I ended up leaving his truck after about 2 weeks, a little bit due to training style, a little bit due to personality conflicts, and a little bit due to unsavory living conditions, should I say. But that was the setup for something even better. So my second trainer, who I heard is coming back to Prime through the grapevine, or at least that's what he said. I haven't been able to get a hold of him in a while, so if you happen to go to Prime and you get a trainer named Devion, you got a good trainer. So why did I think this guy was so good? This like 25-year-old kid, I'm 51, he's 25 years old, kind of like the odd couple in a sense, but he does have an old spirit. And I'm going to link a couple videos up in the iCard above that, one when he ate this really hot sauce, another one maybe when I gave him a watch when my training was about over with, just so you can kind of, get an idea of who I'm referring to in this video. But, my first trainer, let's just kind of talk about techniques. First of all, in 2 weeks I didn't back one time. So that, in TNT training, that's supposed to be training you to get out on your own. Never did that, not once. He would always, rather than try to teach you something, he would tell you what you did wrong after the fact in almost kind of like he's talking to a kid kind of a way. But we're not going to dwell on that trainer. Let's get back to the trainer that I have all the respect in the world for. So I'm sitting at the Oasis Hotel waiting to get my new trainer. My dispatcher calls me and says, be expecting a call from Devion. He's going to be your new trainer. So I'm like, okay. So I get the call, and he says he's coming to pick me up about when he's going to come in and about when we're going to have to leave. And I just said, what, since we got some time, why don't I take you out to eat and we can kind of hash things out a little bit and kind of get to know each other and, do that kind of a thing. So we did that. That was great. So first thing he says is, listen, I'm not really trying to be your trainer. I said, I'm really trying to be your friend. That's kind of how I look at it. And if I call you a student, it's just because that's kind of, how can I explain it? That's how they've been conditioned to, call him. But, I'm never, or he did on a few occasions, but he would always call me a co-driver from the very beginning. Never tried to, put me like in this student mind frame or anything like that. So that was one thing that I kind of really respected him for. Secondly was kind of how he trained, and I'll give you a couple examples. So we were in this dock kind of in California, like Long Beach area. I forget what exact city we were in, but we're at this shipper, and they give us a dock door, and he just tells me, go ahead and hit it. And so when you get out of training, everything looks either like an alley dock or an offset or something like that. So I get my truck in there, do the setup like I'm gonna do an alley dock, get it in about as good as somebody can get it in that just, basically got out of training. And after I get it in, he's just says, that was good. He said, but why didn't you do this? I had all this room in front of me to basically set up for almost a straight back. And what I liked about him is rather than trying to correct me in that moment, he let me do what I was going to do, then correct me to show me an easier way to do it. Same thing with going into a fuel island. I think the first time we went in there, my first trainer never, well, I never even fueled, so it didn't really matter. But, you kind of pull in and your trailer's angled, so he allowed me to go through the process and then say, you know what, when you're coming into a fuel island or one of these parking spots at like a rest area, you're gonna kind of want to, oversteer and then bring it back in, and so your trailer will kind of follow you straight into that spot. So that was kind of the way he trained. As far as the hours and shifts and everything that we worked, I don't believe a good trainer will ever tell you that you're working nights or you're driving nights or you're driving days, because naturally, and there are some trainers out there that ain't running and gunning, so maybe you can do it like, you're always going to be driving nights and I'm always going to be driving days. But typically, if you're driving how the load dictates, that schedule is going to kind of be flip-flopping anyway, due to sitting at receivers or just when you get the load, just for a number of different reasons. You can't really stick to that same schedule. Now, my trainer said he preferred driving nights, but I think he was just saying that. But so if we were trying to stay on those things, let's say I just got done driving a 10-hour shift, and then for some reason we might have had to sit for a while, rather than him picking up the next shift, I might go ahead and pick that up just to stay on days or something like that. But it's never really something that somebody's going to dictate to you, like when you're going to drive. I don't think that that's a good way to train. Now, as good as I say that my trainer was, and obviously I wouldn't have stayed on his truck for 7 months if I didn't, I think he was a great trainer. There's just some things that may have been a little bit harder for him to translate, but you always had time to learn it. And what I mean by that is, I sit out at truck stops, like I'm sitting at a truck stop now, and I kind of watch just to see how different people park. I'll do that if I'm sitting at a shipper or whatever. My trainer, 25 years old, 4 years, I believe, truck driving experience, can outback 99% of the people out here. It might even be 99.9% of the people out here. And sometimes when you're that good, it's sort of like why some of the greatest basketball players can't be the greatest, or greatest basketball, baseball, football players can't be the best coaches, because it's hard to translate some of that natural ability. So I'm going to tell you how smooth my trainer was. When it came to park, let's say we're at a truck stop or at a shipper, he'd pull in. The first thing he'd do is lower his window, take off his seatbelt, and light up a black and mild, stick his head out the door with the door open, and just back it in. It wasn't no, he'd set up, but it was like all in one process. It was like a pull in, and then, it was automatic. And I know there's a lot of people that think they're good backers, and technically they can get it in the hole, but when you see somebody that does it as naturally as him, and they're trying to teach you that same way, it's just very hard to translate. So I did become proficient at backing when I was there. I just had to tell him, just shut up, let me do my own. I know the angles, but me trying to do it like you, I just can't just be winging it and, doing all that stuff the way you did. So, and then he just allowed me to do what it took to get in there, and he'd spot me. I watched a video where somebody was critiquing their trainer on every time I was trying to back, he was hopping out of the truck. You know what? That's not a bad thing. I think somebody stated, if there's two people in a truck and a truck is going backwards, there should only be one person in the truck. So, but from the day I started to the day I got off the truck, if I was back and he was out of the truck, if nothing else, just to, take a look and make sure that nothing gets hit or, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. But not one time did he talk down to me. Not, nothing was ever forced. It was, you have to drive this many hours. You got to stop here. Here's our, it was just like, when it was time for us to switch drivers, we switched. If I wanted to drive 9 hours, I drove 9 hours. If I wanted to drive 11 hours, I drive 11 hours. If I felt we needed fuel, we got fuel. It was just, I never felt like I was below my trainer. So I know that it's rare to get trainers like that. And, there's this myth, I think, that's going around. And I think a lot of it, and forgive me if you happen to be an old school truck driver. I've had this conversation with one of my best friends that's been driving since '94. The myth that you have to be a truck driver for X amount of years to be a good trainer, I think, is about the biggest load of bullshit that you've ever heard. And these aren't my words, these are my friend's words, is drivers have an overinflated sense of what it actually takes to be a truck driver. That's coming from a 25-year truck driver. So, I hear all these stories about, rookies training rookies and all this stuff. You know what? Where are all the old drivers that are going to have the patience to teach? I'm sorry, this is getting kind of on a rant in a totally different direction, but where are all these old truck drivers that with all this experience, where are they at training people? I don't see them. What I do see is a lot of old truck drivers that are sitting around critiquing, people that just got in the industry, but that's a totally different rant right there. So I think a great trainer has very little to do with the amount of time that you've been in the industry as it does your ability to translate what is needing to get done. And in reality, you're never going to be able to translate all that information in one training cycle anyway. So, no disrespect to anybody that's been doing this for a while. I think this is an industry where how much more do you know about actually driving the truck after 25 years as opposed to 4 years or 3 years? It's not a whole bunch of that. You learn a lot of different things about the industry, learn a lot of different things about, things like that, but the actual driving of the trucks, sort of like, I don't know. I'm going on this rant a little bit because I just watched a video where somebody was, kind of talking a bit down to some of these trainers with under 4 years of experience training people and how the roads aren't as safe. And it's not the rookies or people out here that are 3 years, 4 years and less that are out there in the left lane pushing four-wheelers out of the way, or trying to intimidate people on the road. It's usually not your rookies that are out there providing that unsafe environment on the road. So anyway, that's a totally different rant. I did see some karma last night. That was actually supposed to be my next video. I'm gonna do a video on some of that karma that happened. Well, it was the day before that evening, but we'll get into that in another video. But that's what made my trainer great. Hopefully, if you're going to truck driving school, whether you're going to Swift, Knight, Sierra England, whatever, you have a trainer that's just as good as mine. For some reason you are at Prime and things aren't working out for you with your trainer, I'm going to tell you, do not be afraid to switch that trainer out. Not everybody's for everybody, and a bad training experience can really change the way you think about this industry in a whole. Anyway, before I keep rambling on, I just want to thank you guys for stopping by. No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. Comment, subscribe. I'm out.